On January 23, 2026, the screen flashed a number that looked like a typo, $99,939. Most people saw a record. Smart money saw a warning light. Because if silver can print 99 on COMEX while real buyers in the physical world are whispering 130, that isn't price discovery. That's a system stuttering. That's the glitch that never ended. Here's what the silver glitch is, why it's happening, and why $100 is a doorway. Right now. And I need you to understand one thing before we go deeper. In 2026, silver isn't acting like a commodity anymore. It's acting like a strategic resource with a broken translation layer between paper and reality. So let's start where the glitch begins. A normal market has one price. Different cities, different dealers. Sure, you pay a premium, you pay shipping, you pay taxes. But arbitrage keeps the world glued together. If one place pays more, metal moves there, profit closes the gap, and the price snaps back into alignment. That mechanism is what keeps the number on the screen honest. Now look at what happened this month. COMEX printed 99.39, and at the same time, physical buyers in hubs like Tokyo were reportedly paying north of $130 per ounce for immediate metal. That's not a cute premium. That's a $30 canyon, a canyon that should not exist in a functioning market, because $30 is not retail markup. $30 is, we cannot source what you want when you want it at the posted price. That's the first symptom of the glitch, the global price gap. And here's why that matters. When spreads get that wide, arbitrage should become the easiest trade on earth. Buy the cheaper metal, sell into the higher market, collect the difference. In a healthy system, that gap gets attacked instantly. But in a broken system, you can't complete the loop. You can't get the bar, you can't get delivery, you can't move it fast enough. Or you can't trust that your paper claim will become physical when the heat is on. So the gap stays open. It breathes, it widens, and it tells you the same message every day. The paper price is no longer the boss. Now let's talk about the second symptom, because it's even louder than the Tokyo premium. The backward roll. A lot of viewers hear futures contracts and their eyes glaze over, so I'm going to make it simple. A futures market is supposed to reward patience. If you agree to take delivery later, the price is usually a little higher than taking it now, because time has a cost. Storage, insurance, financing, that's normal. Backwardation is the opposite. Backwardation is when now becomes more expensive than later. And when a commodity goes backwardated, it's basically the market screaming, I don't want your promise, I want the metal. In January 2026, traders did something that should make you sit upright. Open interest migrated from March into January and February. Not because it's fun, because someone, somewhere, decided waiting 2 months was unacceptable. That's the backward roll. People rolling out of the comfortable future and rushing into the front month. Why? Because the only delivery date that matters is the one you can actually reach. And that leads to the third symptom, inventory drain. Every paper system pretends it has infinite supply until delivery day arrives. COMEX and LBMA inventories have been bleeding, registered deliverable stocks have been collapsing, and when good delivery bars become scarce, the market starts to behave like a store with empty shelves. The sticker price stays up, but the real price is whatever someone is willing to pay to get the last unit. That's why backwardation shows up. That's why premiums explode. That's why the screen price starts looking like it's lagging behind reality. Now, a skeptic might say, okay, but silver always gets dramatic. It's a volatile metal. True. Silver is famously violent. It spikes, it crashes, it whipsaws people into regret. But volatility is not the story here. Structure is the story. Because this glitch isn't driven by one headline. It's driven by a 5-year streak of missing metal. For 5 consecutive years, global demand has exceeded supply. That means the market has been living on borrowed inventory. Not future mine supply, not recycling will save us, borrowed inventory. And the bill always comes due. Now add the new 2026 twist. Strategic reclassification. China didn't just wake up and decide silver is shiny. They moved it into the category of strategic control and tightened export approvals as the calendar turned to January 1st, 2026. Even if you hate geopolitics, you can't ignore what that does to the plumbing. China sits on a huge part of refined supply. If export flows become permissioned, if the pipeline becomes a gate, then the market stops being global. It becomes segmented. And segmentation is how one metal becomes 3 prices. One for the West's paper markets, one for industrial buyers who need immediate delivery, and one for the regions willing to pay whatever it takes to secure supply. That's not theory. That is exactly what a glitch looks like in real time. Now let's zoom in on the demand side, because this is where the story turns from interesting to unstoppable. Silver has always had 2 faces, money metal and industrial metal. But in 2026, the industrial face is eating the entire mask. Solar is no longer a green hobby, it's a grid requirement. Forecasts for 2026 put solar PV silver consumption in the 120-125 million ounce range. EVs are no longer a luxury, they're a production mandate. If 2026 EV output lands around 14-15 million units, you're talking about tens of millions of ounces of added demand across high current contacts, sensors, control systems, and power electronics. And then there's the demand vector nobody respected until it was too late: AI and data centers. AI is not magic. AI is electricity. AI is cooling. AI is copper, transformers, switchgear, and high-efficiency electrical components that don't get to fail. Silver doesn't have to be rare, it just has to be needed in the wrong place at the wrong time, and when you combine record industrial pull with constrained supply, you get a market that behaves less like a trade and more like a procurement war. Now, the price spike to nearly $100 didn't happen in a vacuum. It was accelerated by black swans, events that pour gasoline on an already dry forest. First, the Greenland tariff crisis. When geopolitical threats hit the tape, the reflex is safe havens. Gold runs and silver, being the high beta cousin, runs harder. Second, de-dollarization pressure. You don't need a conspiracy to see the incentive. If central banks diversify away from the dollar, the opportunity cost of holding hard assets changes. That shift doesn't need to be dramatic to matter, it just needs to be persistent. Third, the Federal Reserve pivot. When the market smells easing, rate cuts, liquidity relief, the narrative flips from carry costs to currency costs. People stop asking, what yield am I missing? And start asking, what purchasing power am I losing? That's the environment where silver doesn't just climb, it reprices. So what does 99 out of 39 actually mean? It means the old model, paper sets the price, physical follows, has started to fail. It means the market is trying to move from a world where silver is a tradable ticker into a world where silver is an allocated resource. And in that transition, the screen will keep glitching, because the screen is the last place the truth arrives. Now let's hit the uncomfortable part that nobody wants to say out loud. The paper market is leveraged. Depending on the metric you use, futures, unallocated accounts, ETFs, swaps, there can be hundreds of paper claims for every ounce that can realistically show up as deliverable metal on demand. You don't have to worship any exact ratio to understand the principle. Paper can multiply faster than bars can be poured. That's fine in calm times. But in a run, leverage becomes fragility, because the moment enough holders ask for real, the system has to choose: deliver metal it doesn't have, or change the rules. And that's why the glitch metaphor is perfect. A glitch isn't a single crash. A glitch is the same error repeating because the underlying code never got fixed. Silver has been throwing the same error message all month. Immediate delivery is prized, premiums are widening, inventories are draining, and the paper price is struggling to keep up. So where does this go? First, the psychological milestone, $100. Humans love round numbers. The moment $100 prints clean, headlines will treat it like a finish line. But in supply-driven markets, milestones behave like doors. When you kick them open, you reveal the hallway behind them, because the buyers who needed metal at $90 still need it at $110. Their factories don't pause because you hit a nice number. Second, the credibility gap problem. If a market posts a price that real buyers can't access, trust erodes. And once trust erodes, a new question spreads like wildfire. If the posted price can't clear, what else is mispriced? That question is how regimes change. Now, I'm not here to sell you a fantasy. Silver can absolutely pull back. It can rip faces off both directions. Corrections are normal, but pay attention to what would make this story end. This story ends when the physical deficit ends, when inventories rebuild, when supply expands meaningfully, when export pipes open, when immediate delivery stops being special. Until then, the glitch doesn't end. It just changes shape. And that's why some analysts are projecting extreme outcomes, numbers that sound insane until you remember what a procurement panic looks like. There are forecasts floating around as high as $375 by 2028 if the deficit doesn't get fixed and the paper-to-physical trust continues to crack. You don't have to believe that target. You just have to understand the logic behind it. In a tight market, the marginal buyer sets the price. And the marginal buyer in 2026 isn't a guy buying a coin for fun. It's an institution securing supply. Now let me show you how the glitch spreads, because this is the part that explains the "why doesn't arbitrage fix it" question. In the old world, an arbitrageur could do three simple things: buy a futures contract, stand for delivery, move the metal to the premium market and sell it. But in 2026, each step has a trapdoor. Step 1, buying paper is easy, too easy. That's the whole point of paper. Instant exposure, tiny friction, huge leverage. You can create a position with a click. Step 2. Standing for delivery is where the fantasy meets the warehouse. Delivery is a process, not a button. You need the right contract month, the right notices, the right capital, and the patience to deal with timelines that can stretch when everyone rushes at once. When demand piles into the front month, normal delays become quiet rationing. Step 3. Moving the metal is not teleportation. A 1,000-ounce bar is not a crypto token. When the market is calm, that's manageable. When the market is stressed, every link in that chain gets slower, more expensive, and more political. So arbitrage doesn't die because people get stupid. Arbitrage dies because the pipeline gets constrained. And when the pipeline gets constrained, you stop having one global price. You get regional clearing prices based on urgency. That's how a paper market can still trade all day, while the physical market behaves like a drought. Here's another way to visualize it. Think of COMEX as a scoreboard. It's loud, it's public, and everyone stares at it. But the physical market is the game itself. It's procurement managers, refiners, mints, industrial contracts, vault stockpiles, and delivery deadlines. When the scoreboard updates faster than the game can supply, the scoreboard becomes a lagging indicator. It becomes the last place that truth appears, because truth is negotiated in shipping schedules and inventory reports, not in a green candle. That's why I keep repeating one phrase, translation layer. The paper price is a translation of physical reality. In calm periods, the translation is accurate. In stressed periods, the translation breaks. So how do you track the break without guessing? Use a 3-signal checklist. Signal 1, contango versus backwardation. If the front month keeps commanding a premium, the market is paying extra for immediacy. Signal 2, lease rates and borrowing friction. If holders demand higher rates to lend metal short term, that's a sign nobody wants to part with inventory, even temporarily. Signal 3, registered and deliverable inventories. Not total inventory, not reported holdings, but deliverable categories that actually matter when someone shows up with a claim. When those 3 signals tighten together, you're not watching a normal rally. You're watching a shortage express itself through the only language markets understand, price. And yes, this is where the scary scenario enters. In highly leveraged commodities, stress events have 2 endings. Either the metal shows up, or the contract changes meaning. That change can be subtle. Higher margins, stricter position limits, delayed delivery windows, higher fees, emergency rule interpretations. Or it can be blunt, cash settlement pressure when too many people demand the same scarce thing at once. I'm not saying that's guaranteed. I'm saying that's what leveraged systems do when the real world refuses to cooperate. So if you want the real question behind the glitch, here it is. When a claim meets a shortage, who bends first, the buyer or the rule book? That one question is why silver in 2026 feels different. It isn't just higher. It's less trustworthy as a paper promise. And that's why the conversation is shifting from how high can it go to what exactly do I own? That's a regime change question. So here's the simple takeaway I want you to walk away with. 99.9 or 39 was not a trophy. It was a diagnostic that said, the market is not smooth anymore. It's segmented, it's stressed. And it's being forced to choose between paper convenience and physical truth. If you've been watching silver like it's a normal chart, you'll miss what's happening. Because this isn't just a rally, it's a regime change. And if you want to play it smart, stop staring at the number alone. Watch the premiums, watch the spreads, watch the roll, watch the inventories, watch the policy gates. Because the glitch that never ended is telling you the future. The world is relearning what real costs. Not financial advice, just the map. If this helped, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, do you think $100 ends the story or starts the next chapter?